Here to get everybody else ready.
Let's get in it. TM, man. I'm pumped up, dude. It's gonna be a good one. Super excited about what we got cooking, man. Hey Joe, let me know when we're live, man, and then I'll.
Oh, we're live. We're live.
Am
We're
I
live.
Am I on camera right now?
No.
Okay, good. Okay.
Broadcast will begin shortly, folks. We're
Alright,
just getting everything situated, ready, sharing everything, getting everything ready. Like I said, I said it again.
Hang in there, folks. Yeah, hey, I'm pumped up, man. There's a lot of good stuff going on too, man. Especially Thursday nights shootout is interesting.
If you are in the area of Houston, go ahead and come out to Two Mules, and we'll be live for the Sunday showing of Texans versus the Cowgirls.
Oh yeah, we gotta make sure we'll remind you guys, make sure we plug that at the end, in the middle of the show, because I want everybody to come out.
Yeah, we're gonna be. It's gonna be the battle of the foes. It'll be Dak Prescott against DW foes.
Bam!
Dynasty Squad.
I love it.
Dynasty one.
Welcome to the Dynasty Wise Fantasy Football Podcast. Lots of interesting things going on here. I'm here today. Of course, I'm your host today. I'm Padu. And I'm here with the infamous Amish one, Clayton.
What's up, everybody? I'm
And-
not Amish anymore. I better clean that up.
Oh, you did clean that. And then, of course, we have the man of two names, IDP Joe for fantasy football
Good one.
purposes, also known as Rear Naked Joe.
Rear Naked Joe, I'm here. You know what it is.
Well, we had an interesting week this week in fantasy football, especially last Thursday. We had a full-blown shootout, which that was supposed to be two of the top-ranked defenses in the NFL, with the Rams and Minnesota. Everybody pretty much went off except for, well, obviously Dalvin Cook, but
And Latavius Murray.
yeah, it was a huge disappointment in the rushing game. But you know, we wanted to make sure we discussed that Thursday night shootout with Cooper Kupp coming in with a monster game. I know that one of the first things I did is I asked folks out there, did you start Cooper Kupp? And unfortunately, I heard more no's than I did hell yes I did, which scares me.
Right. Honestly, man, I got lucky in this mega league, actually. This dude, Dustin, he actually had Cooper Kupp and Jared Goff on his bench. But at the end of the day, I think I still would have pulled him out. I put the beat down, but still, that was a lot of points on the bench, brother.
What made you start him though? I mean, is he pretty much a starter for you every time?
Who, Kupp?
Yeah.
For me, it would have been, I've been high on Kupp since his rookie year, you know. Y'all know that. But he had a great week one, and my thinking would have been, yes, the Minnesota defense is good, but I figured the Cooks and the Woods, you know, would take the coverage, and that would actually, Kupp might have actually been the best play, which served to be right last week. You know, I thought he would have been the best play, and that's how it was. I mean, Cook still did his thing. Woods, they all did their thing.
Wait, I mean, Goff had a monster game too. I mean, he came in with 39 points on average, you know, and somewhere in that range for a lot of folks. But what surprised me is how much he spread the ball around and how much everybody got a piece of the pie. You know, like you said, Woods, Kupp, even Cooks got in the mix. I mean, that's a monstrous game for him. But even on the other side of the ball, you had Keenum, strike that, my bad. Kirk Cousins had 31 points himself, and he spread the ball around as well, you know, hitting up Diggs and Thielen. And, I mean, the guy got busy too. I mean, it was just a straight-up shootout. I mean, if you didn't start players on that night, man, you were regretting it the rest of the week. Because that was, like we always talk about, Thursday nights for your studs, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'll tell you something crazy. So, and I drafted Kirk Cousins in a few leagues, a couple dynasties, and this one redraft. I'm just high on Cousins. You know, he's a great fantasy quarterback. But I've also got me some Baker. I love me some Baker. So in a few leagues, I was like, am I gonna go with Baker? I like his matchup over, you know, Cousins versus Rams, blah blah blah. I only went out of 3 leagues. I think I only went with Baker in one because the guy had all bye weeks, so I was okay with it. But I did great.
Anyway, we were getting reports in. People letting us know about our mics, but I think we're good.
Again.
Yeah, we're plugged in to the mic. I think we're okay there.
It was mainly Pat, but I think they got it figured out.
No, actually, no, we're not plugged in, Joe. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, it's a Houston cell.
It slipped right out.
We were still charging.
That's all
My
right.
bad,
We're
my bad.
coming in hot.
And we are hot. My
Thank you.
bad.
Appreciate it. We had it all worked out. It actually just fell right out.
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
So, anyways, we got that worked out. Just to touch base again, real quick. Thursday night shootout. Cup, Woods,
That was wild.
and Cook's going off. Lots of touches. Just so you guys know, we got quite a bit of information to cover tonight. So we're going to get to the Q&A portion. Keep your questions coming. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a section here in a little bit that we'll answer some of those some of those questions for you guys. Which we're, again, thank you guys. We love the questions. Y'all give us that back and forth. We love having, interacting with you guys. So appreciate that. But, Kirk Cousins is having a good year. Goff is going off.
Right.
The Rams are just almost a all-around complete. To me, I kind of put them up there with the Bears too, but they're almost an all-around complete team.
Right. With the Rams, I don't know if anybody's already coined it, but you basically got the greatest show on turf 2.0, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
it's
all around offense and defense.
Yeah,
they're the most well established. A lot of people try and argue that it's the Chiefs, but their defense has given up way too many combined yardage to teams every week in and week out.
Right.
That's their weakness over there too, because that's one of those, it's just Rams are just killing it, man. And honestly, I'll be honest, as much as I hate saying it, I'll admit it. I sat Diggs this week, which he's a week-to-week starter. I didn't like the matchup with the Rams. I sat Amari Cooper when he faced the Rams, and it worked out for me. Stephon Diggs did a little bit better than Amari Cooper did that week. However, I started him, I sat him, and I started Golden Tate, which was my kind of recommendation that I did. Worked out for me this week.
Right.
But at the same token, it was a risky move because of what happened. But that's okay. I mean, it's it worked out for me this week, and more often than not, it's not going to. Sitting Doug's is usually a risky proposition in general.
Yeah, I think Diggs he's put himself in that he's a stud you start every week conversation. I believe now. I really wasn't on the Diggs train for the longest time, but then I got into some research, him versus Sammy Watkins, and when I did that, Diggs made me become a fan whenever I actually started breaking down the film and his numbers, and so yeah, if I had any shares of Stephon Diggs, I'm starting him every week.
And I can't argue that. And the other one is about that too. Is not only do you have Stephon Diggs, but you've also got Adam Thielen,
Right.
who is also a week-to-week starter as well. I mean, that's two receivers on the same team that essentially are going to be week-to-week starters. I mean, other teams, you have Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, for example. It's like Cooper Kupp's going to get this, Robert Woods. I mean, you never know who's going to get the lion's share of the receptions.
Right.
So that's a little bit different situation. But you at least know that over there, for the most part, that those guys are going to eat up, man. They're feed me. They're going to get their share of it. But Sunday in general was great because you had a few people that showed up that I mean, you've kind of been waiting on. One of the big ones I wanted to touch on. I know there's quite a few we want to talk about, but Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper finally, to me, showed why people were high on him. I mean, but unfortunately, it took him 4 weeks to really do something. Last week he was okay. I'm not going to take away from what he did last week, but finally he had some points that he put up.
So with this, does that mean he's automatically back in your lineup, or are you still on the fence about him?
That's a great question, because what I'm looking at is, I actually put Amari Cooper. I'm week to week with Amari Cooper and Robert Woods.
Right.
Those are who I'm not quite sure who I'm going to start each week. And I'm 50-50 on those, just because unfortunately, Amari Cooper's he's a wide receiver one.
Right.
Robert Woods is fits in the role somewhere in there, but I mean, to me, he's still not a week to week yet. It depends on, of course, who else you have on your roster. For me, having Robert Woods and I take it week by week and continue the research and kind of see. I'm waiting for like a corner to go down in practice. That's okay. Yeah, okay. Then I'm gonna start so.
Right.
So
I think based on those two receivers, I have Woods in a Dynasty league that I recently did. He's actually won me 1 week. I'm 4-0 in that one. I think I would go with Woods over Amari until proven otherwise. I need to see a little bit more out of Amari. I know that Rams offense is just literally feeding everyone.
It's a feeding frenzy, man. There's blood in the water, dude, and
Right.
everybody's getting a piece of it.
Swarming.
Yeah, that's it, man. And that's, I mean, I look at the fantasy points as being a well, and that's the blood, and everybody's feeding on it, man. And it's cool to see, but even the defense for the IDP people, I'm sure Joe will probably have maybe a little something, maybe not, but it's the IDP guys over there are eating too, because they're shutting people. Well, from an IDP standpoint, you really want them throwing the ball to your receivers, if you have the corners or the safeties over there, but.
Well, I think I played against Donald and Sue, I think. Well, Sue might have been, but Donald had a good game. I ended up losing by, I think, a couple points to Cam, and in our home league, and it was mainly because some of his defensive players. And Donald, that's what's crazy. Some of these defensive players in that game scored well.
Yeah, well,
but offensive.
The biggest thing about the IDP part of the Rams is that offense is so explosive right now that they're molly-whopping teams, and that defense is always going out there off of touchdown after touchdown, either Gurley just running over people or what have you. But that defense is always out there, and they're getting tackles left and right. They're sharing the love all around.
I love it. I mean, to me that was a great Thursday night game. I enjoyed it, man. It was.
We don't get too many of those.
No,
really.
you don't. And we're gonna get into this coming Thursday night game as well. But how do you Calvin Ridley? I mean, how are y'all feeling about him? Because the guy's shelling out some points, man. I mean, to me that's still a dangerous trio of receivers.
Right.
But Calvin Ridley's, man, he's eating.
I got a conspiracy theory.
Here we go. Ooh.
Calvin Ridley is there to replace Julio within an off season or two.
Shut your whore mouth.
I'm just saying it right now. I mean, he wanted to negotiate he wanted to renegotiate his contract, but the organization told him that they weren't going to renegotiate with any player within 3 years of their contract
Right.
still. So they said they would talk to him next year. Well, obviously he wants to get paid, and what they do after he came at them asking to renegotiate his contract, they drafted Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a dangerous conspiracy theory,
Yeah,
but I'm trying to argue.
I mean,
it
is true though. It makes sense. I mean, but my question is with Julio, or my dilemma is I just acquired him this offseason. He gets the yardage, like the dude's a monster, but then they'll take him out of the game in the red zone. Why?
I think they're slowly phasing him out, seeing what their young players can do, what they can do without Julio, see what they have.
Well, it don't matter if you want to win games now. You you want to win, put Julio in.
I mean, that's dangerous though with Julio, Calvin Ridley, and Sanu.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Atlanta's defense is. I'm sorry, Corey, but I'm sure you've conceded too that Atlanta's defense isn't there anymore. They've had some nasty injuries over there.
They were the 26th ranked pass defense going into last week, and after what happened last week, I don't think they improved.
I don't see any adjustments made. I mean, honestly, a lot of the what I'm doing, if I see someone playing Atlanta, I'm almost starting them because I know at least with Matt Ryan there, it's at least going to be a shootout. Right. So I mean, there's going to be some points there.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know we touched base on Golden Tate. Golden Tate's having a monster season. I got him. I got to knock it. I got to knock on wood because I don't want to jinx the guy, but he's having a heck of a season. He got 33 and some change points last week, man, and that's like 3 or 4 weeks. If it's 4 weeks in, but I'm saying that's out of the 4 weeks he's putting together quite the resume this year.
Cut him.
Yeah, that's good advice. I think I'm going to take it.
I would.
Yeah.
I would.
Clayton knows best.
There you go.
Thanks for helping me manage my team, buddy.
That's what I'm here for. It's my favorite part of doing it. Yeah, he's definitely produced for sure. I think what's helped him produce is the emergence of Kenny Galladay. I think that's helped his game out tremendously because Galladay is definitely the up-and-coming young guy that's going to be the man, and I think he's helped Golden Tate.
Big time. Honestly, Stafford's been showing more and more faith every week into him. He's been slinging it in double coverage, triple coverage. It doesn't matter. He's just been letting Galladay do all the work. And honestly, if Golden Tate misses a game or so, Galladay might see a big workload where they might have to increase him even more.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good take on it too. Because I mean, you're not seeing as much activity out of Marvin Jones either. And that's That's weird because usually it's. I think he's taken over.
Yeah,
Galladay's
he's a little-
taken over for because
Little
usually
banged up.
yeah.
I think.
And
People are trying
I
to
think
push
so.
the name Baby Megatron. I don't think Galladay like it.
Babytron.
no
Yeah,
dice.
Babytron.
Baby
But,
Trump.
yeah, for sure. He's definitely showed up.
And you had a heck of a game with the Texans and the Colts last week. Texans pulled it off in overtime. I felt like they should have won it earlier than that.
Yeah.
They kind of handed the game to the Colts, but I've kind of got a take on it. I felt like the Colts lose, but luck wins from a fantasy standpoint. Because to me, we saw the emergence that I felt like luck showed why he's still the starter.
Right.
Why they didn't move on without him because he was able to bring it back. I mean, is Luck a week-to-week starter? I'm looking a lot harder at it now.
I'll be on the opposite of the fence.
Bring it.
I'm gonna say that Luck loses because he showed that they obviously relied on T.Y. Hilton to come through, and he
Yeah.
was making them big plays.
Now he's banged up.
But now that he's out, if you're out there, stash Hines if you don't already have him because he's showing that he's going to take the workload right now. Right now, he's being targeted more than McCaffrey on his first 2 games showing out or
Something like
whatever.
that.
He's being targeted more than times than McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Grant is not a bad play either while T.Y. is out. I know we're not there yet, but
No, that's okay. Yeah,
just
we'll get into it. Yeah, I know it's kind of tied into
yeah.
the Thursday because
I'll hit on it.
well, no, it's important to talk about because there's a lot that
Go
happened.
ahead and hit on it.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Because it's all deals with luck, which we were talking about.
Yeah. Bring it on.
T.Y. is definitely a blow, especially against the Patriots, but Grant hasn't really been a slouch. Week 1, he had 8 receptions, 59 yards. Week 2, 2 for 30. Week 3, 3 for 35 and a touchdown. And then last week against the Texans, 5 for 64. It's not eye-popping or anything, but I think his workload will definitely increase with T.Y. out. But I think Hines will probably, Hines has been getting a lot of targets, as Joe said. But I think between them two, they can make up for T.Y. But I don't know. Andrew Luck needs a little bit more help, but he just makes everybody better around him as a quarterback.
He does. I mean, look what he did to the Texans. I mean, he just marched it right down multiple times. It wasn't just a one-off. I mean, he did it almost 3 times in a row. I mean, they had 3 possessions that he's just like, all right, we're just going to do this real quick. We're going to march it down 80 yards in 4.5 minutes.
Yeah, and score a bunch of points, and that's what we do. Texans suck. Woo.
Yeah, I mean, it was just. And to be fair, I think the Texans defense was worn out.
Right.
But they started running the hurry up, and they exposed him. The cardio or the endurance was a concern, and he exposed them just like you do in a one-on-one MMA fight. You find the weaknesses, you expose it, and you take advantage of it. That's exactly what they did. At that point, they were outplayed and outcoached. But all in all, it was a good overtime game. Obviously from a Houston standpoint.
Yeah, glad we ended up on top.
Yeah, they finally get a good win and let us know. But to me, it showed that Andrew Luck is still a gamer. He's still around and he's not going anywhere for a little while. And Clay, you've been high on Kittle for a while.
Yes.
Kittle had a great week last year in most leagues, and that kind of took the average. It was about 24.5 points. How do you feel with Kittle as week to week?
He's a week. I plug him in every week in the league. I drafted him to be my starter. He's been producing every week. 1 he balled out. I think he had one kind of low week, but other than that, he's been consistent. And right now, like I said he had the top 5 potential. I think he'd be a top 5 tight end this year. I know we're only a quarter of the way in, but right now he's sitting in the 4th best tight end, fantasy tight end as of right now.
And and you called that early on.
Yeah.
You were riding the Kittle train.
The thing that surprised me about this week was I thought
Calling the Kittle black.
If you haven't seen it, go ahead and check him out on DynastyWise.com. He has an article out on Kittle, actually. So
That's true. Yeah,
great read. I got a couple articles out there, to put you ahead of the curve on a lot of these players. But yeah, Kittle, I thought he was going to take a hit when Jimmy G went down, but that was not the case last week. But that was also another thing. I was like, this guy needs a safety blanket, He's a backup. He's going to go for that tight end, so it actually might still benefit me, and I hope so because I got Kittle in a couple leagues.
He's a solid tight end, man. You called it from the get-go, and I was on the Kittle train. That was your take, man, and I listened to everything you were saying, and I was like, man, everything Clay is saying is valid. I can't argue it. I kept wanting to rebuttal you, at least kind of give a different side of it. But I was like, man, he's solid at what he's researching and what he's showing.
You can't rebuttal when they're right. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, shit. And Elliott. All right, we got to talk about Ezekiel Elliott because it's something that, and I've got an article coming out soon about with an ADP bust and stuff like that. And Ezekiel Elliott was taken early on in a lot of leagues, but so was David Johnson. That information's coming to you. Kind of how he's busted so far, but Elliott is the one to me is the one bright light they have in Dallas right now. And Houston's taking on Dallas Sunday at the Sunday evening game, which should be hopefully a good game. Depending, if you're from Texas, obviously it's a great game. But he's the one bright spot they have right now because I'm not impressed by Dak Prescott's performance. Dallas is supposed to be quote unquote America's team, but they're not. They're playing very poorly right now.
I never considered them America's team,
I don't
but yeah, Zeke for sure. I was telling people, right when the season was amping up, one of my, my top running back asset. But I thought Gurley's Gurley, but I was like, as a running back, Gurley's yardage isn't always there. I was like, Zeke's my guy. I thought he was, the number one dynasty running back going in, but Gurley's kind of, Kamara. Ooh, but yeah, Zeke. I think Zeke turned it on. As long as you keep feeding Zeke, that's how that train's going to go in Dallas.
I think that's actually what opened up Dak to finally break his losing streak of not being able to pass for over 200 yards, which was my